roommate's a little street rat and likes to fuck with my shoes, which is why I have to hang them on a shoe rack by the window. Okay, I'm actually pretty excited about doing this tour and showing you guys my studio, but there is a couple of things that I want to point out beforehand. And one is that nothing you're about to see here is fancy, and I kind of alluded to this in my previous video. Spoiler alert, it is not fancy. This is about as bare bones, entry level printing as you can get. And I'm in the process of updating a lot of equipment, especially my press and conveyor dryer and stuff like that, even some squeegees. For now, a lot of the stuff you're seeing is gonna be old, like really old equipment. Some of it's even secondhand. And I've actually been able to do a lot with just the little bit that I have. Okay, so I want to start real quick by showing you my desk setup, because this is really where the printing process starts. I have a 16-inch MacBook Pro and a dual monitor system. I do all of my color separation manually, either out of Illustrator or Photoshop, because as a graphic designer, I'm very fluent in those programs. So I don't use any third-party RIP software at all. Although down the line, I might consider using one simply for automation purposes and just to streamline the process, and maybe it'll save me some time. But for right now, I'm totally content with doing it manually. So once I have all my design files print ready, I send it to my printer, which is actually downstairs. So let's go downstairs. And there's a couple things about this basement that I need to show you. We've been having a bit of a flooding issue. This actually just happened last night. I woke up this morning to a big puddle of water right here, but I've had to like move everything up off the ground so nothing gets damaged. And that's what that shop vac over there is for. You have a fan and dehumidifier, but essentially this is actually the first half of the studio. The whole basement is kind of divided into two parts. The other part is back around there, which I'm going to show you in a second. And the other thing that I want to mention is that I can't actually stand up fully in this basement, and I'm being serious. I'm kind of like, my knees are bent a little bit right now, but if I stand up straight, I have to tilt my head. I'm 6'5", and the ceilings are, I believe, 6 feet. It's like 72 inches, something like that, because at some point this was renovated and they lowered the ceiling for whatever reason. It is not fancy. Okay, but anyways, we have 2 desks here. They're just cheap folding desks, and they're kind of multi-purpose, so we use them for a bunch of different things. I also have a couple of mannequins. That's a female mannequin, and then there's the male mannequin right there, trying to save him from the water. So this is my printer. It's a Pixma IX6820. It prints up to 13 by 19 paper and transparencies, which I have some of those. I have 13 by 19 transparencies down there, as well as 8.5 by 11. And between those two sizes, I pretty much have all my needs covered. Okay, so let's move on to the bathroom. This bathroom is actually, we've kind of converted into a dark room. And I have this, which I've shown on my TikTok before, but I'll show it again because I'm pretty proud of it. But it's just a shower curtain that I have some hooks drilled into the ceiling here. So I just take it and hook it up there, so that blocks off a lot of light. Now it is a little transparent. It doesn't block out the light 100%, but honestly it does the job perfectly. Okay, so heading into the bathroom, we have a window here, but we've covered it with this light safe film. If you look over to the left, there's a little nook in this bathroom that there's another curtain for even more light protection. But in here is where I actually dry all my screens. I have a light safe bulb hanging there. And then this is a printing rack, which I've custom built. It was just a rack that I bought at a restaurant supply store, and I've customized it to make it wider so that it can fit the screens. But it does a really great job for storing and drying screens. That fan right there is normally in here, and it just sits right there, and it just blows air onto the screens to help them dry faster. I also have a dehumidifier, which I normally just sit right here, and it does a really good job of just keeping the humidity down. So here's something else that's a little bit unorthodox. This is a tabletop. It's a really compact dishwasher. I actually use this to wash my scoop coater. When I coat the screens with emulsion, I take the scoop coaters, and instead of just hand washing them, I put them in here, and I put a little bit of that emulsion remover in the detergent slot because it's super easy to do and it works really, really well. And I haven't had any issues with it. I'm actually really happy about this. I don't know if I'm the first person to do this or not, but it's super useful. Now I've tried using it to clean ink off of squeegees and some of the like ink scrapers. It doesn't really clean the plastisol ink very well. Now it may or may not work for water-based inks. I don't know because I haven't tried it, but this is definitely at least good for cleaning scoop coaters. Okay, so let's go finally down into the printing area of the basement, and in this hallway we're greeted with Barney Fife. He's got his bullet in his pocket somewhere. Let's turn the lights on. It's nice and creepy down here. Again, ignore the mess because those are towels we had to use to help clean up some of the water back there. Again, not very fancy. I have done nothing here to clean up for you guys. I probably should have prepared. Now this washout booth I bought from someone on Facebook Marketplace. It was used, so it's secondhand, and I absolutely love this thing. This is probably the best purchase I've made so far because I bought it for $200, but it wasn't just that. It also came with my exposure unit, which is over there. I'll show you that in a second. But there's nothing fancy going on here because this just drains right into this bucket. And another thing that I added were those lights. I have this switch here. It's just a basic outlet switch that turns that on and off. This is my pressure washer. I got it at Home Depot, and you do not have to get anything fancy. The entry-level pressure washer will do you just fine. And then moving on, I have this really ugly cabinet here, but it does a great job of holding everything from chemicals to inks to scoop coaters to squeegees. These squeegees are incredibly old. They're about 10, maybe 12 years old. But this is an example of something that I will be upgrading within the next couple of weeks. I want to get those easy squeegees, which have the handles on them, and they're much easier on your hands and your joints because when you're printing for hours on end, you're gonna really do some damage to your hands. My punching bag right there, and this lamp has a light safe bulb in it, so I turn that on whenever the lights go out. This wall here, I just bought this fabric at Joann's, and I'm going to try to fill it up with a bunch of designs. I have some grommet hooks on it, so whenever I have an order, I just kind of take it down, print on it, and then I want to kind of fill this up with a bunch of prints and see how that looks. I think that would be kind of cool. And I literally just bought this thing. It's one of those t-shirt folders. I haven't used it yet, but when I do, I'm going to try to make a TikTok video. So follow me on TikTok. And this fancy guy is my press. It's a simple 4-color, 1-station printing press. It does not have micro registration. This thing is about 10 years old. And this thing works great. I mean, the only real issue that I have is that since it doesn't have micro registration, getting the screens to align and register, especially when you're doing a 4-color print job, is kind of a pain in the ass, and it does occasionally fall out of alignment in the middle of a job, which is certainly not ideal, but that is why I am going to be upgrading this within the next month is the plan. I think I'm going to be getting a Riley Hopkins 6-color 2-station press with micro registration. This is my flash dryer. Guess what? This thing's also about 10, maybe 12 years old. It's just a basic flash dryer. I have some timers here. I have these kind of propped up to the right level so that I can just cure. I do all my curing through this flash dryer. It is definitely not ideal. However, in addition to the new press, I'm also going to be getting a new conveyor dryer. It's just a basic entry-level conveyor dryer. And over here, as I've alluded to before, is my exposure unit. Nothing fancy going on over here. So I added this little scoop coating station thing with some scrap wood. These 2 rods hold the screen in place, and you can just lean the screen up against the wall, and you can just use the scoop coater and then kind of coat up. I've had some mixed results with it. I'm still kind of getting used to it. But here's another lamp with a light safe bulb in it. Oh, and then this window here has more of that light safe film to just add more protection to the screens. And then over here, this hot mess is, this is a trash can that I bought at Home Depot. I also made a TikTok about this, but I use this to store my screens in. So whenever I coat the screens and I dry them in that rack over there, I take the dry screens with the emulsion on them and I put them in here and I just store them there so that I can just use them at a later time. And it's light safe because of the lid. It has wheels, so it's easy to roll around. It's a very good DIY hack. These are just, this is just a stack of dirty screens I need to clean. I keep my transparencies in that bucket over there. All right, I had to sit back down because I can't stand up. But that was about it, guys. I'm really sorry that this was super rough. I really wanted to make this a lot more polished and a little bit more cinematic, but this has been a crazy week. And again, with the flooding, it might have been the worst time to do a studio tour, but I had to get this done because it's been on my to-do list for a long time. This at least gives you an idea of what I'm working with. Maybe it'll give you some ideas with what you can work with. Yeah, because the possibilities of a printing studio really is endless. And my gimbal thinks that this is level. What the fuck? But I guess that's it, so go away.